This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
At the end of the day, even losing the other guys, the depth of what we had, with our schedule and how heavy it's been, and not having Fleur and Millsy being around, that's, it's a grind. We can't, when we get these 3 and 4s and 4 and 6s, it's nice to put new bodies in, fresh legs in there, and we can't really do that. So look to the kids coming in, getting an opportunity. Hopefully they can step up and help us.
Well, one of those kids is going to get an opportunity here, Jim Toth. We'll get to that in just a second. This hour brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road, and at washmethod.com. VIP text will win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. Coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, saucy savings on pasta every day in January from only $11.99. Lots happened after we got off the air. We learned that Neal Pionk, we learned that Haydn Fleury and that Collin Miller were week to week, and that Elias Salomonsson was being called up. And it looks like Salomonsson is back in the lineup tonight against the Minnesota Wild, opposite Dylan Sandberg.
Guess who's back?
Don't
call it a comeback. He's been here for a couple of years.
Morgan Barron also slotting his way back in. Looks like Danny Jilkin is going to be a healthy scratch tonight.
This is interesting. We should discuss that.
What do you think about that? Barron was always going to come back in the lineup.
Barron was coming back.
Yeah.
This is weird because I don't think Jilkin, and I said I would keep him up here. I wouldn't send him back. Now, they don't have to but I mean in the lineup. But Koepke and Pearson have played so well over the last 5, 6, 7 games that they don't deserve to come out either.
Yeah.
So Barron doesn't deserve to come out. He's having a career year. Koepke and Pearson have been really good. And again, 7-0, 68-68, but Judge really good. They've been good, like for them and what they do. And Koepke's speed and Pearson scoring goals. So I get it, right? But Jilkin has done nothing to come out of the lineup, save for just that there's a healthy body coming back that is more experienced and having a great year.
Salomonsson back in as well. I mean, during the initial line rushes, according to Mitchell Clinton, who's there in St. Paul, it looked like maybe Phillips was going to be coming in, but no, he's going to have to wait his turn. I think this is the right move. And do you see Salomonsson going back to the Moose this season? I mean,
it depends on the injuries. Like Haydn Fleury, I would.
Oh, and David Pagnotta is going to be joining us from thefourthperiod.com, Best in the Business NHL Insider, right after 12:30. We're going to ask him this question. I mean, does it depend on if Luke Schenn does get moved? And it sure seems like he will at some point.
I think he will.
Do you think Salomonsson is going to be back on the Moose, or do you during this season?
That's a great question, Cam. I don't know. Like if Luke Schenn is moved, then I think you'd want him to play, though, right? So it depends on Miller. Miller's week to week, Pionk's week to week. So I think he's here for week to week. Like I think he's here for a couple of weeks.
And we both know that week to week is the ultimate smoke screen in injury terms in the National Hockey League. Week to week could mean anything. Nobody knows what it means.
Your age, you're week to week. At my age, I'm day to day.
You're day to day. Yeah, I'm week to week.
I think that if there's somebody going back before him, it's going to be Isaak Phillips.
Yeah.
So you bring up a valid point. He could be here for the rest of the season. Now, I think Pionk's going to come back in the lineup.
Without a doubt.
I think Miller, I don't know. And Haydn Fleury is the one that that was such a devastating hit and things going on. I don't know if he'll make it back to the lineup or not. But and that's being said, you have the Olympic break and everything. So there's a lot of runway here left. But I look, if they move Luke Schenn, and we're going to talk to David Pagnotta about this, if they move another defenseman or if they re-sign him,
maybe,
then I think that he could be here. But we did this with Brad Lambert, right? Like if Brad Lambert was having a better season statistically, and from what I don't know, I haven't seen him play yet, but from everything else that's going on with his game, I think you were onto something when you said he could have been called up and he wouldn't be going back. It's fascinating how we're approaching this. Like I've talked to a lot of people over the past couple of days, even in the elevator today coming up, and somebody's like, so what do you think tonight in Minnesota? I'm like, I don't know. But I do believe the Jets are what we saw the last 3 games, which is imperfect, but winners of a lot more games than they have been. And like going to have bad second periods like New Jersey, going to have blow 3-0 leads. I don't think they're as deep and as strong and as powerful as they were last year. But I still think if they hadn't had the disastrous first half, they would be a playoff team. I honestly believe that.
I think this is going to be as tight as a game as the last one that they played against Minnesota.
But the first part of the season is what it is. It was a disaster points-wise. And so I'm fascinated by how, again, I'll wait till the end of the month. Tonight's a big one in my mind. If you can get at least a point off Minnesota, that's points in 4 straight games. Then you have Toronto coming here. Toronto, I think, is going to get worked. They got worked last night in Utah. I think they're going to get worked tonight in Vegas. I think Mitch Marner's going to have a little revenge tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then they come up here and they take on the Jets. This is a team that you had a 2-0, a 4-1 lead over and blew it. You should beat Toronto on home ice. Then you have back-to-back Chicago, St. Louis. But I'll even do this, Cam. Say they win 7 in a row. They win tonight, they beat Toronto, they beat Chicago, they beat St. Louis. You got 14 points you've gained there. I'm still not going to go, okay, this has changed.
Yeah.
I will judge when they take on, at the end of this month, Florida twice, Tampa Bay. Those are the games that I'll be like, at the end of this month, going into February, you will know whether they're 5 or 6 points out of a playoff spot or whether they're 12.
And you know what? It's like that. It's sort of like the last 10 pounds, right? Yeah. Like when you're losing weight.
I've done really good here, but I'm not at the goal weight. But should I have that Kit Kat?
Well, that's right. And the 10,
because they're good.
And they say the 10 pounds is the hardest to lose, right? That final 10 pounds. Those last 4 or 5 points are the hardest points to make up. I mean,
yes.
I don't want to say that these are the points that the Jets can gain on the teams at the bottom, which is where they are. So I'm not disparaging any other teams because it's where the Jets are too as well. But for them to climb, these are the easier spots to jump. It's when you get right up to that playoff line and you're battling with 5, 6, 7 teams there, which is where it kind of looks like the Western Conference could shape up. That's where things start to get very, very difficult. And it's that mirage, right? That 4 or 5 point mirage that we've seen in the National Hockey League so many times, Jim, because of that extra point and the overtime point. And there's been tons of overtime points and those 3-point games over those 2-point games this season.
And I only bring this up now because I still think what you do now in February and March at the deadline is all about augmenting this lineup for next year. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be any rentals coming in.
No.
There's going to be deals, and I think they should look at deals. And that's why, it's hard to – I know that teams in the season rarely do this. They are focused on the season. Like the management and the coaching staff sole focus, I believe right now, is winning tonight's game, winning on the weekend, now. But that being said, I think you look at the pieces – this is what makes it easier for the Jets. Nyquist isn't going to be back.
Yeah.
I don't know about Pearson. I don't think so.
Yeah.
As good as he is having. Koepke's the one guy I would be like, maybe. Let's look at a low-end 1-year extension for him.
I just think that based on what we've seen from Zhilkin so far, I just see that that's a guy who you're going to say,
Zhilkin,
hey, here's your chance, man.
I think Lambert next year for sure.
Yeah.
I think because Kevin said that. Kevin Cheveldayoff said, he goes, we thought some of the younger players would be ready this year, and they weren't. Mm-hmm. But those guys after this year should be ready. Whether they have good seasons or not, you have to pencil in those guys and then look at what you can do. But in and around that, you augment this right now. If you can get a deal for Niederreiter that a playoff team wants and get a younger player back with another year left, like next year left, I do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, that's the stuff you have to look
know
at.
How I feel about Niederreiter, but still, there comes a point here where you're like, it is what it is. And so this year is what it is, but we're in this 2 to 3 year window, and let's fix year 2 now as opposed to in the offseason if we can.
And there's
So how this plays out, if they win 11 games in a row here, it doesn't change the philosophy. But what changes if they don't, and they at the end of January, is then you go, okay, as well as Pearson's playing, I don't mind sitting him for 2 games in a row and having a look at this guy, and I don't mind sitting and having a look at that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we look at the Minnesota Wild, they're 4-2-4 over their last 10. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Last 2. I mean, these are the ebbs and flows of the season, right?
Well, you brought in that absolute floater, Quinn Hughes.
I think there's usually, whenever you make a major move, and this is why I think it was smart for Bill Guerin to do it when he did and not wait until later on in the season. And I think Vancouver was also aggressive and wanting to get it dealt with and sort of to move on from that. But whenever you sort of bring in that big piece, the Quinn Hughes, there's sort of that initial jump, right? Everybody gets excited. And then it kind of settles in. It's not so novel anymore. It's not so new and exciting. Now it's like, okay, now we have to sort of make an adjustment because you do ship out important pieces like Marco Rossi. It's been a Minnesota Wild for a while. And there's this sort of adjustment period that you have to go through. And I think that's where the Minnesota Wild are right now. I still think that they're not getting as many points as they were after that sort of Quinn Hughes bump. But I still think that by the end of the day and the end of the season, I still think the Minnesota Wild are going to be a better team than they started the season.
It's the age-old adage, like people have brought it up this year. They were 9-3 before Lowry, Perfetti, and Sandberg came back in the lineup. But none of those players you're not putting back in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I used to hear this discussion all the time. Well, when they brought Blake Wheeler back, they started losing games again. I'm like, you're not putting Blake Wheeler back in the lineup. And it goes back as far as Dustin Byfuglien. That's my counterpoint to all this. Yeah. There was a year when Dustin Byfuglien, I think, made the All-Star team, and it was in Ottawa or something. Feel free to correct me on text if I'm wrong.
204-780-6868.
But they had a better record with him when he was injured than they did when he was back. And I'm like, this is the worst kind of analysis I've ever seen. You're not going to not put in Dustin Byfuglien. Mm-hmm.
So how should a team handle something like that? So you're just not going to have Dustin Byfuglien in the lineup because the team, based on wins and losses, was better without him?
Like a coaching bump, you get that with a player like Quinn Hughes, and then things settle in, and you kind of think we're really good again.
Yeah,
we're better than we were.
That's right.
And you forget that. Well, you got to play like we don't have Quinn Hughes.
Yeah,
and then when we add Quinn Hughes, that makes us better. If you play like, oh, Quinn Hughes is here.
Mm-hmm. So I think Minnesota of these final 35 games, I think they're just going to get better and better. But they're going up against Dallas and Colorado, and they're going to have to get through the Central. That's just the way it's going to have to be. It'd be interesting.
How about Seattle climbing back into it here? They're in third.
It's 6-1-3 over their last 10. I mean, they had that overtime loss yesterday to.
But all you have to do is
Devils.
3 wins. They're now the Jets, a point behind the Flames with a game in hand. They're 3 points behind St. Louis with 2 games in hand, and they play St. Louis in 3 games. Mm-hmm. You get a point tonight. Say you get a point against Toronto. You're now a point behind St. Louis and 2 points behind Chicago, and you play them.
This is the.
If they have a good 4-game run here, not great like 4-0, but if you have a good 4-game run here where you get 2 wins against those 2 teams and a point against the other 2, you will then be in 6th place ahead of Chicago. And you will then be, depending on what Anaheim does, 2 or 3 points behind. They're now 8 points out of the second wild card. And I'm not doing the red, hope's not a dangerous thing. I'm not doing that.
It is a dangerous thing.
But it is a dangerous thing. Like it's.
Well, let's look at the goal differential, okay? The Winnipeg Jets have a -7 goal differential.
Well, this is the big stat. Those other teams are horrible in goals.
The Jets, they have, if you just look at goal differential, they should be in the playoffs right now because San Jose is worse than them. Nashville's worse than them. Anaheim.
Just quantify that, buddy. Not just worse. They have a goal differential of -7. Calgary is -21. St. Louis is -44. Chicago's -16, Anaheim's -16, Nashville's -22, San Jose's in the playoffs are -19, and again, the Jets are -7.
There's only 6 teams in the Western Conference right now that have a positive goal differential.
That's those 1-goal games, Cam. Yeah. That's those 13 1-goal games.
Stop, Jim. You're making me think here. It's over. Just say it's over. Just admit it.
Nothing's
but it's
over.
not. But it's
Nothing's
not.
over.
But the thing is, Jim, it's not.
It's not in me.
Isn't it easier just to say, it's done. We're going to wrap it up?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start saying, hey, we know what? We win a couple games
My mother wonders if I'll be home in May for her birthday. And 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I might be home for my birthday in April. But you don't know, Mom.
You never know. You never know. 204-780-6868, 204-780-6868. Hey, the Boo Birds came out yesterday. I'll tell you where that was.
Was there a jersey on the ice?
I'm not so sure about that.
We should bring that up again because the jersey on the ice is
Call the Boston Pizza.
move.
Call the Boston Pizza Jet Set Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza, where it's Pasta Tuesday every January from only $11.99. Hungry for saucy savings, hungry for BP. During the decade of darkness in Edmonton, do you remember that? Dallas Eakins was the head coach.
Yeah.
And somebody went and threw their jersey on the ice. I enjoyed nothing more than the decade of darkness in Edmonton, by the way, and I'll always say that.
Do you like the Haywire?
But I remember Dallas Eakins was always like, that guy's a quitter. We're not quitters here. That guy quit on the team. I don't want him on our side. And I was like, yeah, maybe you make it a point, Dallas.
I don't agree with it, but fans can do what they want.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Turn this up. You know Haywire? How old were you when Haywire came out?
Dance Desire?
Yeah, Drop the Needle. I could see you turning your hips up to this in your bedroom.
What year did this come out? 1987?
Star Wars thing hanging and
it's more of a Lord
of the Rings.
That was a Star Wars. Yeah, it was Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
You ever pick up your Lord of the Rings mannequin and drop the needle?
My life-size Gandalf the Grey? Yeah. How did you know I had that? I didn't tell anybody about that. It's humiliating.
Open the door. Son, take that off.
You shall not pass. We'll be right back. This hour brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road, and at washmethod.com. VIP text to win a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash Method. Coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, saucy savings on pasta every day in January from only $11.99. Now, Jim, we spent the first segment of the show wondering what the Winnipeg Jets can do to get into the playoffs. I mean, they're only 8 points out. They win this game, they win that game. All of a sudden, it's only 4. Oh, there you go. They're not out of it yet. But that leads to this question. With 16 games left until the trade deadline, the long roster freeze in February, coming back for just a couple weeks before the deadline, the Jets are sort of at a point where they have to make a decision as to what they're going to do. Is it a full-on sell-off? Is it roster augmentation moving towards next year, avoiding rentals? And there's also some names, some Winnipeg Jet names of players that are out there.
I seriously think they can do both.
Let's bring David Pagnotta with thefourthperiod.com, best in the business NHL insider with us right now. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm great, gentlemen. How you doing?
Fantastic.
David, we are well, sir, and we appreciate you joining us with your knowledge on the Jets and who's going to be dealt first. Let me know now.
First, before we dig into the Winnipeg Jets and we look at some other people and some other names, let's what is the landscape like right now in terms of the trade? Because it's like, do we know where the market is set? Do we know the prices of players? What can you share? Because outside of the Quinn Hughes trade and a couple of little ones, there hasn't been any real big moves yet.
No, there haven't. And I think a lot of people anticipated and thought that, okay, Quinn Hughes, that's going to open up the floodgates. And clearly not the case. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of discussion. There aren't a lot of discussions and isn't a lot of talk out there, because there definitely is. Obviously you have Vancouver. That's listing on almost everybody. You've got St. Louis, similar boat, listing on almost everybody. Other teams willing to discuss a lot of their players, including, some of the guys on the Jets. So the conversations are there. It's just now a matter of what domino is going to fall first. I say first because the Quinn Hughes deal, that's a different ballgame. Like, that's a much bigger deal. That blockbuster-esque superstar player, different category. But with respect to the rest of the league, what's the next domino, or what's the first official domino to fall? Is it going to be, somebody from the Canucks, somebody from the Blues, someone from another club that's out there that's looking to make some moves? Is it Calgary? Rasmus Anderson conversation definitely picked up. So everybody's kind of waiting in that boat. So there's a lot of talk. We just need to start seeing some action, and we'll see kind of where that kind of goes. We understand now that we're at this point in the season. You guys just talked about before I jumped on, but the 8 points back of a playoff spot. Well, for the Jets, we're starting to see that gap start to widen a little bit between playoff contenders and the bottom side of the league. And that's certainly going to help in the next couple of weeks here properly define the market a little bit better.
So along those lines, I'm of the belief, and you would know better than I, David, because I get some ideas, and quite frankly, they're kind of dumb. So let's go this way. I think you can deal a Shen. I think you can deal a Shen and aspects like that. But I'm starting to look at this roster, and I think they would know. I don't think it's gone as bad as forgive me. It's been a disaster. But I don't think they are as bad as their record. And I think Cheveldayoff understands that. So I'm looking at the veterans like Niederreiter and Amesikoff and stuff. If you could deal those for a younger player with a year left, you would do that. And I would think playoff teams would look, I'd love Niederreiter on my fourth line come playoff time or stuff like that. Is it possible, and do you think Chevy is sort of looking at, this year is what it is, but I can still do some stuff that's going to maybe help us this year, but mostly next year?
I think this is, excuse me, I think this season, I believe the Jets view this as a bit of an anomaly. Everything, or a lot of the things that could have gone wrong have gone wrong. It's not just, the Hellebuck injury. It's the fact that this team just doesn't have the secondary scoring to really get themselves out of certain funks throughout the course of the season. Because of that, I think they view this as, all right, this is a one-off. It's a bad year. A lot of things aren't going well. Let's focus a little bit. I don't think they're there just yet in terms of the full focus. I think it will evolve into that. But the message being, let's focus on getting this team back on track for next season. If this team does, end up in bottom 5 in the league and the potential for a top 5 pick, you take that as a victory, all things considered. And I think they will continue to listen on some of their players, be it, Nyquist on an expiring deal, Logan Stanley on an expiring deal, Luke Shen, who's open to a move. I think they look at some of those, fill up the cupboard a little bit. If they end up with a top 5 pick, beautiful. And then you spend part of the offseason trying to focus on next season and on. And even now, the conversations now, there's no secret that Cheveldayoff would like to bring in somebody to help supplement some of the secondary scoring. It's pretty clear cut that's the primary need for this group. Can you bring in somebody, at least one player on the second line that can step in and help overall? And I think if you do have a top 5 pick, you have an opportunity to draft a player that could step in short order, not necessarily next season, but short order. And then at the same time, the conversations now, if you pull something off before the deadline, great. If not, you focus on the offseason. But somebody controllable with term who can help build with this team moving forward. The group of this team, the core of this team signed long-term, with Connor and Scheifele and Hellebuck. You got Josh Morrissey there. You have the pieces. You just consider this season a bit of an anomaly, as I said. It's a one-off, and you get back on track for next year.
Who are you thinking of? Because Kevin Cheveldayoff's always a guy going back to the Paul Stastny days that nobody was thinking of. What kind of names would he be looking at?
Well, yeah, he does. He keeps his cards close to the vest, which I both appreciate and am frustrated at because I'd like to know more. But so credit to him and the staff for keeping tight lips on things. But I think this team is open. As I said, at least one second line type player. And if you can look, everybody knows a lot of the path to winning is up the middle. And if you can solidify the center position, certainly I've got to imagine that's a preference for the Jets. Now, every team obviously would love to do that. But I think from their perspective, you've got some pieces on the wings that can, get going. Like Cole Perfetti. Another scenario where they thought he was going to take a nice step forward, a nice bump up this year. Hasn't been the case yet overall. So, do you put him in a position to succeed by bringing in somebody that can jive with him and build a little bit of chemistry with him? Typically, you want to do that up the middle. I could certainly see them looking at something along those lines. At the same time, bringing in somebody on the wing to complement on either side, because you can kind of shift guys around, would be another. We know that St. Louis is willing to listen on Jordan Kyrou. And I don't know definitively if the Jets have reached out or had those conversations, but that caliber player, somebody who is, again, controllable and fits the mid-20s kind of, group that this mid to late 20s that this group kind of has, that's the caliber of player I would imagine they would want to pursue. Not necessarily saying it's specifically Jordan Kyrou, but somebody along those lines in the mid to late 20s, controllable, signed long-term, and that they can bring into an environment to help them succeed. Again, not necessarily this season, but the focal point will be next season and on. And
I want you to say this, David, because this has been an ongoing conversation here in Winnipeg. Logan Stanley, and you reported on this, the Winnipeg Jets were looking at potentially a long-term contract with him, or they were also listening on offers. How much attention would Logan Stanley garner from the rest of the National Hockey League if the Winnipeg Jets do look at their prospects and where they are right now and think of him like, hey, this is the opportunity. We're going to get more than what we give up here by trading Logan Stanley?
Yeah. I think there's a willingness to listen. I think they're going to do their due diligence to see what it takes to potentially get him locked into an extension. I don't know if it's full long-term or if it's kind of, I would imagine mid-term might be the preference, 4 or 5 year type of scenario. But if the money makes sense, he is a reliable guy on that back end, and he's coming into his own a little bit this season, more so than we've seen. Now, at the same time, do the Jets want to take advantage of that? And sell high on the player. I think that's what they're going to, kind of look at. There are a lot of teams that want to bring in, depth on the back end. Can you bring in some physicality? Can you bring in some size? Can you bring in some meat there that can help shut down the opposition? And it's not just what he's capable of doing, per se on the ice. It's also the cap hit that comes along with it. That also makes things very appealing for a lot of teams, especially contending teams that are right up there, that are looking at different players saying, okay, we need to bring in somebody that either is going to be, a third pair type of addition to help stabilize things and help shut down the opposition a little bit, or it's a matter of we just need extra depth because we want to have that next man up in the event that there's an injury or situationally throughout the playoffs. And I think both Shen and Stanley, fit into that bill for a lot of teams. Shen's got the higher cap hit at $275. Stanley is, I think, 1.25, something along those lines, in terms of his cap hit. But it's a combination of cap hit plus capability on the ice that makes this player particularly attractive to a lot of contenders. So Chevy and the Jets have to figure out should we hold on to him? If it's a favorable contract, then I think they go in that direction. Alternatively, I think there's definitely a market for this player elsewhere between now and the deadline.
Last one for you, David. What have you heard around Brad Lambert?
Well, yeah, honestly, not much lately. We know that we know the situation there. We know that he's a player that they're willing to move and is a piece that they dangled to try to bring in additional assets. I think, this isn't necessarily a situation, and hasn't been, where, player's not happy, wants more of an opportunity, fine, we'll just make this happen. There's value as well in the player. And also, if for a Jets team, given the circumstances, given everything we just talked about, if you can package up the player in order to get yourself a piece that can fit, multiple years here moving forward, I think that's the best case scenario for the Jets in terms of trying to package up that guy, in a particular deal. But I haven't heard specifically on Lambert too much, but I wouldn't be shocked if he is a piece that's entered into the equation of we're going to package up a piece here. We're going to go after, a fish that's going to help us, and this is a guy that's going to help us get there. I think that's kind of the mentality with respect to Lambert, and if they do end up moving on from him.
thefourthperiod.com. Go check out his stuff. David Pagnotta, thanks so much. You take care, okay?
You got it. You too, boys.
And enjoy I'm assuming you're going to the Vegas-Toronto game tonight?
I'm in Vegas right now. I'll be at Marner Fest. Already, I'm sick of it, but whatever. Overplayed. So I'm here. I'm going to the game. The Knights will be in Toronto next Friday. Yay, hoopla for the Leafs. Great job. Right, see what happens here with Marner.
And the Leafs will come here after tonight in Vegas. Enjoy the game, David. Always really appreciate your time and insight. Awesome stuff. And fourthperiod.com is where you get all this great info that David and his crew are putting together.
Take care, David.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
204-780-68. It's kind of what it is.
We talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah, on the exclusive edition of the podcast. Yeah, about the propaganda, the anti-Marner propaganda that has convinced us.
47 points in 45 games for Mitch Marner.
You know, this market's got to somebody's going to eventually have to pounce on something.
You know what?
It seems like to me that it's going to be Vancouver that's going to make the first move. But a guy like Kyrou, why wouldn't you look at somebody like that? He's had good opportunities. He's been good. Something's obviously not working for him in St. Louis, but that's the kind of guys you got to kind of look at.
So we did this in the summer with the McTavish in Anaheim and the Rossi in Minnesota concepts. The Jets, unfortunately, given their situation of where they are and how tough it is in the no-trade list, they have to start taking some chances like this.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not being too crazy. Elias Pettersson is on the table. $11 million per. I get that's too much, and I'm not saying the Jets should go do it, but the quality of players, you're right, that have shown in the past they can put up some numbers, you have to take a gamble on some of these players. Otherwise, they're not coming. And if you can convince a guy like Kyrou or somebody that goes, look, we think a fresh start will help you, and we think we have the top 6 that you will benefit from. Do you want to come north?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, Kyrou, he's had a 75-point season, 73-point season, 67, 70, and then this year 19. And of course, there's some other issues, but like that's a guy you got to look at.
Well, just because of the upside, right? You're not going to get a guy like at the peak of his breakout right now. So you got to look at guys that are struggling a bit and go, hey, do you want a fresh start? And will you do it here with us?
Miss your chance. Get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets and Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza, where it's Pasta Tuesday every day this January from only $11.99. Hungry for saucy savings. Hungry for BP. Who was booed yesterday? Boo. We'll be right back.
Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
What movie's that from?
I don't know. It sounds like when I played high school basketball.
204-780-6868.
Is that Lord of the Rings?
No. If you can text the show right now, I'm going to give you a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash.
Let me hear it again.
If you can tell me what movie this clip is from. Hold on, I got to turn my...
Is it Happy Gilmore?
No.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo!
Oh, rubbish filth.
Boo!
Nathan got it. He's first in. There you go, Nathan. Nathan's going to win a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash Method. The Princess Bride. Come on, my dad's favorite movie.
Right. The Princess Bride.
Daryl said The Goonies. No. Mauricio said Hocus Pocus. David says Old School. No.
Old School.
Sean says Princess Bride. Sorry, Sean. Nathan got in first.
How good of a film is Old School?
It's a great movie. Yeah.
It's about life, really. Think about it.
It really is about life.
It's a good...
Don't you connect with Vince Vaughn's character in that movie?
Minus the $5 million that the government knows about.
Frank the Tank. Exactly.
Mitch,
so I played
$5 million that the government
I played that clip
about.
because the New York Rangers were booed off the first after 20 minutes, down 4-0, outshot 14-6 in that first period against the Ottawa Senators.
That was horrific.
8-4.
I turned it on where it was 4-0.
Yeah.
And then it was 5 and 6. And I think they got 1 goal back. They were booed again. What did JT Miller say about it?
I think he swore.
Don't you worry about Blue. He's ready to go. It's go time. We should start a fraternity.
We should. Yeah, we should.
Hey, Godfather, don't you ever call me that.
Jim Toth will take you all the way till 2 o'clock.
Listen,
thank you very much, Jeffrey Fortier, for producing the show.
Quickly. You're supposed to leave your Christmas tree and lights up to see if you have a better January, or your Hanukkah lights celebration. Mine are still up. It's the midpoint of the month. Do I feel better about January? We'll discuss.
I think it speaks that
Are your lights still up? Are your Hanukkah lights?
Well,
is the menorah still up?
Well, it's always on display. Any Jewish household, the menorah is like in the sitting room. It just sits there. And then you light it up.
How do you
Hanukkah
feel about
comes
your
around.
January so far?
Well, not
You
great.
feel like you need to start a fraternity.
We got to go. Jim Toth will see you. Bye.